Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing okay today. This video is all about the table plan and seating allocations. This is something that I've planned on doing for a while and I know it's an area a lot of people can really struggle with and put off for quite a long time. So I'm going to talk you through some hints and tips and tricks and just options that I've learned over my time as a wedding planner and a few little bits of etiquette that you may want to consider applying to your wedding day if you're going more traditional, and it may help you in kind of allocating everyone to a seat in the room. So if we haven't met before, my name's Laura Beth and I'm a professional wedding planner here in the UK, and this is my channel where I get to have a little chat with you each week. It's my little wedding world and a space where I get to share loads of information that I hope you find useful, and it basically gives you less overwhelm in the whole wedding planning process. So with weddings that I work with, I tend to see kind of three main options for seating people. Option one would be where you don't allocate any seats. Everyone just goes and sits where they would like. Now this kind of works well if you've got a really informal wedding where you're not really having a sit-down meal, you may be having a buffet, people aren't going to be sat for a prolonged period of time. So I always kind of describe this as a bit of your budget airline sort of seating plan, and as you can imagine, when you buy a ticket for those sorts of planes, you have a plane allocated to you but not a seat. So you go in, you find a seat, someone might be sat next to you that you don't want to sit next to or don't know, so you try and swap them out for your friends. People might end up separated because they're in different areas and you can't all sit together. So whereas it's good because it's informal and relaxed, it can be a little bit more stressful and overwhelming for people. So it doesn't tend to be a format that I work with very often, but I wanted to put that option here just in case your wedding is going more that way and that is something that you want to do. Option two would be where you allocate people to a table but not a seat. So this is really simple. You have a table plan, they look where they're sat, they head on over to the table and they choose a seat where they want to be. This is a really common and popular way to seat people at the moment. It saves on a few extra bits of stationery because you don't need to have everyone's name card put there. And it can be really great if you've got more informal dining. So you've got kind of home style food, sort of sharing plates in the middle, and that sort of catering has become really popular in the last few years. So if that's something that you're considering, this may be a really good option for you. Number three would be more your traditional wedding setup. So this would be where people are allocated to a table and a specific seat. It's really great if you've got formal meals, plated meals, you've maybe got options, so the catering team actually know where every individual person will be sat on the day, or if you've got really severe special diets and you don't want their food mixed up with anyone else's. It's really easy, people don't have to rush, they know that they're going to be sat in a set seat. It also means that if you've got grandparents or elderly people that maybe won't be able to turn around during speeches, then you can actually seat them facing towards you. So it's great if you want control. It does take a little bit more organising, but that's what I'm going to help you with today. So if that's an option for you, then don't worry about it. With this option three, there are even more ways to consider it. A lot of the weddings in the UK I see is just a table plan or a table plan display sort of thing, and there are so many amazing options on Pinterest nowadays. And that'll be an area where people go to, they look at their table and they look down the list to see which table they're on and they find their name. The other way to do this is more escort cards, and that is more of an American feature, but it's coming over here more and more at the moment, and I actually really like the idea. There are just a few things that you need to consider with this. With escort cards, if you've got 100 guests and everyone has their own card, then that's going to take up quite a bit of room. So you need to make sure you've got the room for this. And number two, please consider where these cards are going to be. If they're by a door that's going to be open and closed, if they're in an area where people are going to be brushing past, if they're outside, make sure they're weighted down with something. Otherwise, as you can imagine, door gets open, cards get flung all over the floor. So think about weighting them down. A lovely way of doing this is actually incorporating the favours into the escort cards. So say your favours, we're in Wales, so a traditional bag of Welsh cakes. So if you've got Welsh cakes and you attach the card to them, people go over to the table and they have a look for their card, pick up their cards in their favour and they head to the table place. And it's a nice way of incorporating both bits rather than favours kind of being lost amongst the table. The other thing to consider when setting up the escort cards is do them in alphabetical order in surnames so families can go there and find all their cards really quickly. Whatever you choose to do with the table plan, whether it be the escort card system, whether it's a board, Make it as simple as possible for people to see things. I see so many incredible designs, but if they're overcomplicated, people are just stood there for ages trying to find their seat. And as you can imagine, as people are trying to get into the room, that can get really congested at a point where you just want to sit down and have some food. So make it as simple as possible and put it out in an area that people are going to see. So throughout the drinks reception, they can pop on over there, have a little look at the board, see where they're seated, and then head on into the room. I know when I'm at a wedding and I'm coordinating that I will pop round all the guests during the drinks reception and ask them to go and have a little look at quiet periods. But if you haven't got a coordinator, ask that one of the guests either send them in that direction or just make it really obvious, and people will naturally head on over and have a little look. And it means we can move into the food nice and quick. So we've covered kind of options of how you can seat people in the room, and now I'm going to kind of move on to how the tables are actually set out in a room. Now, when you first start this and you know what room you're going to be in and you know how many tables that you're going to have, it can be really hard to kind of work out how that all fits in the space. The best way to do this is just have a chat with your venue. What have they done in the past and what have they seen? If your venue's more of a dry hire, it may be that you need to talk to the furniture company to provide this information. But either way, people should be able to provide you with the options so you don't have to actually worry about how to lay the tables out and how they will fit in the room. You may be considering round tables, trestle tables, which are the long feasting style tables that are really popular. Whatever your option is, have a chat with your venue. If they provide tables already, they will be able to tell you how those fit in the room, and if they don't, they'll usually be able to give you the dimensions which you can pass on to your furniture team to give this information to. Just on a little side note, most tables in the UK, most weddings I see I suppose, they're either round tables or trestle tables. And round tables and trestle tables come in various sizes. The standard I usually see are kind of 5-foot round tables which seat 10 people and 6-foot round tables which seat 12 people, or your trestle tables which are either 2'6" wide or 3' wide, depending on how much space you need on the table or in the room. And then they either come in lengths of generally 6 foot or 8 foot. So 6 foot would fit 3 each side and 1 each end if you've got the room for it, and 8-foot tables which seat 4 each side and 1 each end if you've got the room for it as well. So that just gives you an idea on the options available, but speak to your venue about this and they will be able to provide you with what they usually do. And if you've got something different to that, then you can ask them and they can usually tell you if it will fit. Another thing to consider at this stage is you kind of know how all the tables will fit in the room, but what sort of top table do you want? Obviously there's traditional setups for top table, but there are so many options nowadays that you just can do what you want with it. So with your traditional top table, it's usually 6 people. Now, this was a traditional thing. Nowadays, that doesn't tend to happen so often. We've got step parents, children of our own. We like to include partners of maybe the maid of honour and the groomsmen. So there's so many options to consider. So if your kind of arrangement doesn't fit that traditional 6 people in a straight long table, don't feel like you have to do it. I see loads of families now going for round tables. You can fit more people on there and it's more sociable. Some people go for really long top tables and you can kind of go as long as the room will allow you. There's no set rule on this. But the third option I see coming in more and more, and again this is quite American, but it's come over here and I love it, is the sweetheart top table. And that is just you and your new husband or wife. I didn't get it at first because I thought actually it's your wedding day, you should be with everyone. But a wedding day is so busy and you have to chat to so many people, you don't get to spend time as just newlyweds together. So being on the top table as a sweetheart gives you that chance for just the two of you to sit down there for a few hours and have a chat amongst yourselves whilst everyone else is enjoying, and you get to kind of sit there and watch everyone else being at your wedding. So if that's something that you'd like to consider, it's a really nice option and it's becoming really popular at the moment. So from the top table, the room kind of normally flows front to back, although that just doesn't have to happen anymore. Sometimes the top table is put in the middle of the room now, and some people don't even choose to have a top table. But for now, I'm just going to talk about the traditional flow of the room, and you may wish to kind of incorporate this into your design or completely discount it. It is totally up to you. So the top table would normally be at the front, and then the next kind of line of tables would usually be your closest family, your bridal party, so your bridesmaids and your groomsmen, your grandparents, your cousins, people like that who are really close to you. The next level tends to be a little bit more distant family, so you may have great aunts and uncles, second cousins, cousins you don't see as much, close friends that you've known, growing up and stuff like that, so they're still in the close area to you, but family is normally reserved for the closest. And then in the last layer, you're looking at more people in your generation. So colleagues, if you're part of sports teams and you've invited people, friends, university friends, people like that, are usually further at the back of the room. They're people that just want to be there with you. They're not going to be offended that they're sat at the back of the room. They just love the fact that they're part of your special day and they're just really enjoying being involved. So that's a general kind of flow of the room, and if you want to use that as a basis to start, go ahead, but by all means do as you feel. And if you want to sit on a table with all your friends and have family sat elsewhere, do it. You don't have to stick to tradition anymore. It's your wedding, so have fun with it and see what you come up with. So I've kind of talked you through how people seat, what the flow of the room's like, how the room can set up. And lastly, I thought I'd give you a few little details to help you when it comes to allocating if you're a little bit stuck. So the first people I would allocate to tables, and this is a bit of a weird one, is anyone who has any issues with someone else at the wedding. Now that could be divorce, that could be family kind of problems or feuds from the past, that could be friends that don't get on, it could be friends with exes at the wedding. You're still friends with both partners or both people even, but you don't want to put them together on the day. So this can be a really good space to start. Write all these people down that you have to keep separate and then dot them around the table plan. This means that before you start, they're allocated and they're separated. And you can let them know that you've done this as well, because if they're a little bit nervous about coming because they know someone else is going to be there that they don't want to be sat with, it's really reassuring and lovely for you to be able to tell them, I've taken this into consideration, so you don't have to worry about it. Please come and please enjoy your day with us. And they'll be so grateful for you doing that as well. Another thing I suggest you do is mix people up. Don't just do your family and their family. Do joint tables. I would always suggest kind of keeping people similar-minded tables, so you could put both sets of grandparents on the same table, or mix in your cousins together, or your university friends could both come and sit on a table. But doing this, it kind of breaks up the divide. The wedding day is all about joining a family, so mix people up on the tables, they get to know each other, and then at future events where you're bringing people back together again, people know each other, and it's a really nice way to kind of move to the next step in your life as a married couple and really integrate your families. I will mention single guests. This goes back to kind of Table 19, I think, the film. I love it, but it's quite cheesy. It's about my level of films. But don't put all your single friends on one table and kind of alienate them. It's not very nice to do. Mix people in, and I would always say with single friends, if they know loads of people, they'll be fine coming by themselves because they can mix in. But if they don't know anyone, let them have a +1 and pop them on a table with other people that they can get to know and chat to. A single table doesn't make anyone feel good, so if you can, please try and avoid doing that. Saying that, however, there will always be a few people at the end once you've completed your table plan that you just don't know where to put them, and that is totally okay as well. And if you have a table that you're not quite sure fully worked, and if you had other options you wouldn't have done that, but just go with it anyway. That will always happen, as long as it's not just a table of singles so they feel awkward. If it's just a table of various people you don't know where to seat, go with it, make it happen, and you know what, it's only for a few hours, and then everyone can get up and start mingling again anyway. And kind of following on from that same thing is, don't worry if some tables are 8s, some tables are 6s, some tables are 10s. If you've got to use a mix maybe in a room of round tables, some are 5 foot, some are 6 foot, just because that's how it works out. Do not worry about that. When you walk into that room, you will not be able to see, you will not be able to tell that there's different sized tables or different amounts of people at tables. And not worrying about it will make your journey so much easier with this. So if that's what it is, go with it. It will look absolutely fine. You will not even notice. I really hope you've enjoyed this video today and it's inspired you to start doing your own table plan and getting really excited for your wedding day. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button, click subscribe so you can see future videos, and I hope to catch you in a future video soon. Bye!